Hi everybody, today's day 93. We're in the home stretch now and Paris is the heading, so I hunted out all my photos from 2018 it was, when I went to visit, and I went to visit in July and was there for my birthday, which was pretty special. And when I was looking through the photos, I thought, wow, it's really, really nice to look back at these photos, but I don't, because I do everything digitally, I don't actually have any in a photo album or anything like that. So I just thought I'd make a little kind of book of some of my favourites. So I've printed out on card so as it's a bit more sturdy. The things that struck me about Paris, well, this was Notre Dame, obviously, before the fire, was this is the Ville de Gentilly. It was the cemetery that was next to the place that I was doing a class, and I thought this was just absolutely gorgeous, this cross. So I've made it double-sided. Of course, you can't go without having a macaroon or some sort of lemon tart. I love lemon meringue or lemon tarts are my favourites. So this was at a cafe with a friend. I knew a lot of other people that were going there for the same event, class thing, training as I was. So there were lots of people to hang out with as well. So trees, the gorgeous look of the apartments, more trees, of course, as you do. It was such beautiful weather, the sky was so blue and gorgeous. Very warm. Eiffel Tower. I got quite a few shots of the Eiffel Tower. I walked around. That particular day was, I think, maybe even my birthday, and one of my friends and I decided that it was the last day of class and we nicked off to have a long lunch. we just nicked off to have a long lunch and kind of got carried away. We walked around, she'd broken her hip or something and she'd just recovered, so she couldn't walk a lot, so we caught an Uber from the place to the Eiffel Tower, and we didn't go up it because, you know, she wasn't in the best shape. And we walked around and looked at it, and it was gorgeous. The sun was gorgeous, and I probably should be doing some things while I'm talking. And it was just amazing. And we went and we ate food, a lot of food. We went to a local cafe right near it, had lots of wine, ate lots of food. We decided we better have the crepe Suzette. So we got two and shared them. So I had a crepe Suzette and she had the creme brulee, and we had half each of each. And the chef came up and poured the stuff over the crepe Suzette and set it on fire. And we figured we'd been to Paris when we did all of that. Needless to say, we got back and class was finished and we missed the whole afternoon of the last day. Oh well, when in Paris. Anyway, the buildings, this views from, I stayed in, I should just be working while I'm doing this, but anyway, I'll tell you that story in a second. This was where I got the lemon tart and the little macaroon, and it had this beautiful thing, and I sat next to it at a little thing looking out the window, which was gorgeous. I'm going to start to score these and tell you the story of each of these different places that I stayed. I want to make sure I get them scored all the same. Focus for a minute. I'm scoring them in the middle of the white line, the gap, and I will cut around the edges after. Anyway, I told you the story of the Eiffel Tower. Oh no, it didn't. That doesn't back itself properly. All right, we'll have to. Oh, why? That's weird. Oh, that's annoying. It's okay. There's always a way around it. You can always cover things with things. If that's the same. Do our best. Okay, so that was probably my fault because I should have probably made a template to drop them into for a book, but I didn't. I just did it on a Word document and just dropped 2 pictures in on each page. So that's actually something I should have done, I thought about and didn't. So that's my silly. All right, I think I want, let's see, I'd like the macaroon to be next to that jar or as close to that jar possible. You'd think after being in bookbinding for years I would know better. I think that should probably go in the middle. Oh, you know, it's almost like they would look nice single. No, that'll be too fiddly. Okay. No, I want those 2 together. See, there you go. I'm just already all over the place. No, no. Alright, that's going to be front cover. That has to be the front cover, I reckon. Buildings, 2 different buildings from different spots. Different building, Notre Dame, that, macaroon, another building, that, park, Eiffel Tower, that. Let me just cut this edge so as it's not so long. I feel I should be pointing out the right building for the right story, or it'll be a bit weird. Alright, so the Notre Dame, I've ended up, for some reason, the pictures have been a bit longer, so this is why that's that border, and that's that border, whereas here it's quite a big border down the bottom. You know, I can always cover it up with something. So let me show you this. Let's start with this building. This building was on my walks. I think one of my friends was staying in it. And it would have been around near the university arrondissement, 13 it would have been there. This building was right near the first place I stayed. Yeah, the first place I stayed when I arrived was a little Airbnb. I stayed with the family because I thought that would be a safe bet you know, when you arrive in a country you don't know anyone or anything and you don't really speak the language. Alright, there's one more, but I'll get on and do so. I just wanted to remember that that's where that was. I think I'll take the dogs and the bike off to make it a bit smaller. So let me tell you some stories of Paris. So as I said, I arrived with I think I'm going to de-stress a little bit with some of this one. I arrived with, let's see, you know, it's always funny when you arrive from Australia to Europe because, you know, people in Europe, they just travel to different countries and it takes them 2 hours. Whereas, you know, for us, it's a 24-hour flight. Sometimes if you've got a flight hop, it's 36 hours. So, you know, you're a bit gaga when by the time you get anywhere. You know, you might not have slept. I don't sleep on planes properly. It's not comfortable enough, really, is it? Anyway, so I arrived and I thought, well, I've booked I stayed one night. I thought I've booked one place for a night, so I can kind of, you know, just acclimatise, but be really close to the airport and then move on the next day. It's very disorienting when it's a country you're not used to and you're tired. Anyway, so I stayed there at a little, it was like a little, it was kind of like an old big farmhouse that had been done up. So like, it looked like stables and stuff, but it was done up. It was like a bed and breakfast. They, you know, served me some breakfast. Nice, sort of just hung out and slept a bit. But the first thing that happened when I arrived was I got out at the airport and thought I'll catch an Uber. Because, you know, Ubers or some form of, you know, taxi is pretty, you know, everywhere has them. Anyway, a guy approached me and said, would you like do you want a taxi? And I went, yes, and he said, there's no Ubers at the airport, which was a lie. And I got my stuff and I went, oh, I'm too tired. I'm too tired. Like, people are just too tired to think about whether something's a good idea or not. And I got in his taxi and I tried to get in the wrong side because we drive on the other side, and he laughed at me and I went, oh, you know, I'm from Australia. Got in, of course, in the front seat, because in Australia we get in the front seat. That's what we do because we're friendly. We don't think anything of it. And he talked to me about his kids, etc. But we'd already agreed on a price. It turned out he charged me probably double. He made some money off me, but you know what? I didn't care at the time. Honestly, I got there, I got where I needed to be, and I went to bed, and I was okay, and I wasn't too tired. I really want to cut this off because that's really bothering me. I think I need some lace maybe for this. 1 second. And I'm back. I just went and got a couple of bits off the graphics fairy to print out. Bit of type, a few little things. So graphics fairy has quite a few Parisian things. So in the end, the story of the taxi driver was that I could have been in so much trouble. That could have been so stupid, and don't do that, people. But I was too tired. I just went, Okay, he seems like a nice, likeable enough chap. I'll go and do that. So apparently what happens is that they sort of, well, they do prey on people at the airport who aren't going to know any better. And I could have saved money by going in Uber, and I probably could have been safer going in an Uber. But nothing happened, I was fine. That's what happens when you gaga. Anyway, that's the point of the story, is you just, when you're a bit gaga, you're not thinking straight. Anyway, it was a culture shock because I tried to learn. Anyone who's good at languages never gets it. But when you're not great at languages, trying to learn like French or something you haven't been brought up hearing in your, in your home family, it's without its little problems. You think you know more than you do, and you really, really don't, because as soon as you step into that country and they start to speak incredibly fast, you realise you know nothing. You know nothing about the language. Anyway, I didn't even know enough to know what the man in the morning was asking me about what I wanted for breakfast. I just had to point to things. It's embarrassing. So then I caught, I got there in the late-ish afternoon, so I did actually not have to check out till 10, and I also knew that the Airbnb I was going to with the family was not, you can't go there before, 2 or 3 or something, and she was fine if I went a little bit earlier, but I still had that time between. So I checked out as late as possible and arrived there early, and she was fine with that. Anyway, she had, oh, that's annoying when you get down the end of the roll and it's all creased and I haven't got an iron available. She had 3 sons? No, 2 sons. So she was a single mum with 2 sons. One was like, and they loved practicing their English, so they were good in a way, because I could ask them. Well, not the youngest boy didn't understand a word I said, but the older boy was probably, he was doing his exams. He was probably about maybe, I don't know, 16 or 17 or something, and he could answer questions when I asked, and he could interpret between the mum and I, and actually if we wrote a note to each other, the mum and I could understand a bit better. But I booked there for 3 nights, so I did the near the airport arrival, and then I did the 3-night acclimatisation, which was really hard because your first little foray, I mean, they made it a lot easier, and I'm pretty sure they didn't mind if I ate a bit of their bread or something, but when you first arrive somewhere and you don't speak a language, going to the shop that first time is quite, it's like, oh my goodness, people are going to ask me things and I'm going to get in so much trouble because I don't know how to answer. All those thoughts that go through your head. I think the soccer champion, the World Soccer Championship was on at the time. So I sat and watched it with the son, who thought it was weird that I liked to do that. I went to the shop and I just picked up things and I put them in a basket and just put it on my credit card. I didn't know if I was paying more than I should have. So, oh, what a numpty. How bad was that? What happened to that paper? I think I'm liking this paper as a border. I actually found my pencil and now I've lost it again. What did I do with it? I don't know. I don't even know what's going on in my head these days. So I overcame those little tiny things, and I basically kind of really just hung out at the house, and I didn't really do anything or go anywhere except for one of my friends was staying in an apartment. She was a bit quiet about that apartment. Anyway, she just said it was a friend, someone she knew, but I think it turned out it was her daughter who lived there, and because it was an artist's apartment. So I went to visit her. That was one little outing I had. But I did all that by Uber. Anyway, when I finished there, because I'd had a few days before this class, it was a 4, 5 or 4, it was maybe a whole week worth of classes that I was doing. And I had stayed there till I was acclimatised and ready, and then I moved over a day before class started to 13th arrondissement. How do you say it? See, I can't even do the accent. Even though, now that I've been there, I'm even worse at it. And yeah, I stayed in the university kind of sector area. And it was, I guess it was probably maybe a 20-minute walk to where the class was, but I kind of caught an Uber. I was just being careful after being so stupid that first time, being a little bit more careful with Ubers and not wanting to walk and not wanting to walk one way and then realise I'd walked the complete other way, things like that. And of course you have to realise this was at the start when I was realising I was unwell and didn't have a lot of oats for a lot of stuff, but didn't really know what was wrong. So I was bordering on catching Ubers rather than doing a long walk and in the heat. I wasn't worried about the heat. Okay, so this was the view when I went to visit my friend in the little cute artist studio apartment. This was the view from the window, and that rooftop, how amazing is that? That's just gorgeous. And I didn't print it out because I thought, oh, I can't really, you know, it's for her daughter's privacy, I can't really show, but from the balcony I could see the Eiffel Tower way off in the distance because we were on the other side of Paris to the Eiffel Tower. And it was so nice just to be in, you know, in a person's, an art person's, just an arty apartment in Paris. How good was that? How amazing. So I didn't get like a lot of my photos that I got are of trees, parks and such, so I've only just printed out one or two that kind of remind me of things like the architecture and stuff of Paris. I stayed in a little, I thought when I was, you know, studying and doing that class that I would probably want to be on my own. I wouldn't want to be in a house with other people or anything. So I kind of got like a student-y kind of little tiny apartment thing on my own, like, you know, like a little motel room. Had a little tiny weeny microwave and sink and its own little bathroom. Anyway, so I went there and then class started and I just started to get used to wandering around, what was close by, all of that sort of stuff. Going to class, coming home, just making some dinner and chilling out. Like, you know, making dinner was usually I'd just buy some salad to eat, or because I would have had a good lunch with friends along the way during the day when we would have a lunch, like a 1 hour lunch break or something, so we could walk up the road where there was some little shops. And oh yeah, that's right, my first day of class, one of the ladies in class, there were, you know, because people had come from all over the world for this class, so one of the ladies was from Paris she was from out in the countryside, France, so she only spoke French, so I thought, here's an opportunity. We might not understand what we're saying to each other, but here is an opportunity to go and go to a restaurant where I'd be afraid to know what I was ordering. I wouldn't know what I was ordering. Where someone's there that can kind of do it for me or help or whatever. And so I got to have some yummy fish in that situation. That was good. She spoke a little bit of English, so there wasn't a lot we could say to each other, but that was fun. The adventures of me being single, that was what that was. The single adventures. Anyway, after a few days, and the cemetery was right next to where we were. I said that earlier, in Gentilly, and I got back to my little apartment. It was weird. It was kind of a bit like it was haunted or something. It was kind of very odd, that place. Anyway, I got back one day and it had really decided to rain a lot. It'd be a big, massive rainfall. And the water was coming from the ceiling. It really was a creepy little place, honestly. The water was coming from the ceiling and it was running down the wall to the light socket. Seriously, it was running right down the wall towards the light socket. I went, that is not good. That's just not healthy at all. And I'd thought that was, you know, maybe that was the quality of the room, you know, that it was so kind of yucky. And I went down, the man at the desk was really nice. I would just smile and be happy with him, and he'd be surprised, thinking I was meant to be being rude or something. I don't know what the deal was with that, but he was like surprised how friendly I was. Aussies, mate. We're Aussies. We're friendly to people. That's how it goes. Where's this going? I don't know where this is going. That might be how Aussies go, but I don't know about where my bit of lace is going. Anyway, I said to him, this is not safe. I think I need to change rooms. And he went, yes, and he changed me to a room that was so beautiful. See, it pays to be nice to people, doesn't it? anyway, it was like, it had a nicer little view onto the street. It was just really sweet. And because man had just checked out, so obviously it was available. So the rest of the stay was like heaven compared to the last room that was like this horrible nightmare of a room. This one was near the, that one was definitely near the very, very first Airbnb I stayed. This was the gardens near Gentili, lovely, beautiful gardens. I think that the fact that it was such a beautiful time of year there was, you know, really was really nice. Made a lot of difference, I think, to the experience. I mean, very hot, but still really nice. That up. So once I was on my own there at that little sort of student-y kind of place, I kind of got, I guess I got, you know, over a few days you get a bit braver and you start to venture out a little bit more. And so one of my friends that was, I walked home with her one day from class and walked past her. And she actually is Swiss, so she speaks French anyway, so she was quite at home there. And that was good to walk with her because I kind of got a better idea of, you know, the way home, because she was on the way home to where I was staying. And so I got more confident, I guess, over time. By the end, I was catching a tram on my own, and I'd worked out the system, how to catch a tram, how to do the ticketing system. And I walked up the other way from where I was staying, so towards the university area. I walked towards that. Anyway, the first place I went was like a hard rock cafe. I went in there for some food in the evening, you know, like 5:30 or something like that. And I had a lovely, lovely waitress. And I didn't speak French. I had to just speak in English. So I had to, you know, you just end up using a mixture of pointing, speaking English, hoping they understand some words, smiling so they know you're a nice person. All of that. She couldn't understand what I was saying. And had, I can't even remember, I just had a boring old hamburger meal or something. and just people watched, which was really nice. That's another thing, you know, when you travel on your own, you kind of tend to do a bit more people watching. Once you get over, you know, a bit of hesitation about being on your own and all of that. So I got to watch couples coming in, seeing how they dressed, all those things you do. And then another time after class I walked up even further and I wanted to sort of see a little bit more what was around, and discovered there was a Sephora, of all things. Went in and had a look at that. There was a cinema complex. I didn't go in and watch any movies because I thought, oh, it's kind of a waste of money if I don't understand a word they're saying, and I don't know how to do the ticketing thing, all of that. But up the end there, where the cinemas were, was like a big, you know, like a big courtyard where people gathered, and they had I've actually still got I still follow them on Instagram. I think they still follow me too. There was like a little halal-y kind of takeaway food van. I got some chips and, I don't know, smushed beef or something from. And there were people playing music, and I got to sit there, eat my food, have a listen to some music, watch people getting drunk, because this was, you know, an evening after class. That was an exciting thing. I'm just rambling my whole entire holiday. Just turn the sound down if you like. Because I think it's pretty self-explanatory here what I'm doing. Even if you're new to junk journaling, you can see what I'm doing. Trying to think if there were any other adventures to mention. I think that was probably the extent of it when we finished class. My friend who I'd had lunch with the sore hip went off to, gosh, where did she go off to? She went off to like Cairo or something afterwards with her hip. Can you believe it? Alright, which one will go with Notre Dame? None of them probably. Put that one there. And in the end I just ended up getting a cab to the taxi when it was my turn to go, and going and waiting at Paris airport, and then doing a trip. Oh, I didn't do that. That's not what happened. I know, because I was in Paris and my uncle is really sick. He's still going, by the way. Oh yes, this was the next adventure. The next adventure was that I couldn't make up my mind, but I decided kind of last minute to head over to visit my uncle. And, well, you know, didn't book a plane ticket, didn't worry at the time, thought, oh, I've got enough funds, it's okay. I can do what, but you know, sometimes, as a matter of fact, sometimes when you've got options, this is one of the things I really learned and experienced on that trip. Just because I could have paid for the airfare doesn't mean I had to. And I remember thinking, what is the best adventure? You know, like, what about an adventure rather than just, oh yeah, I'll just fly there, see my uncle quickly and come home? Yeah, what about? What about it? What about a good adventure? So I ended up looking at trains and buses and stuff, and in the end I thought, you know what, I actually want to go to London, go under the thing. I haven't done that, gone, you know, under the water for the trip, and stay in London for a while and then visit my uncle and his wife, lovely wife. So I decided I'd do that, and so you had to catch the, and it was like £19. It's like, what? You know, if you wanted to go up to Sydney here or something, it'd be, you know, 100 or something, but it was like £19 for the bus. So I got on the bus, ended up with a guy sitting next to me on the bus, and I was like, there's still seats on the bus, you don't need to sit that close to me, but he sat that close to me. Had a right old chat. In fact, he was on for... So we went to... I got to the bus stop at 11 p.m. This is me, 11 p.m. at night, trying to stay awake, get on the bus to do the overnight £19 trip. And this... I nearly swore. This Australians swear a lot. This damn guy... talked to me for hours. He wouldn't shut up. He just kept talking. I didn't even want him to sit next to me in the first place. I should have put my bag on the seat. I was a bit silly. I didn't realise because I hadn't done it before, so I didn't know what the deal was. But the worst thing that happened was I thought the bus would just go all night and I'd be able to get a bit of sleep. The thing is though, it got sort of halfway at like 2 a.m. and it stopped and we all had to transfer to the ferry. So we went on the ferry, and honestly, the ferry was just all lit up. It was like, it was, you know, it was bright lights. You couldn't stay on the bus and have a nap. You had to get off the bus and go in the ferry, and it was one great big room and everyone was in the room, and some people would just go, oh, let's have a party. And we see the White Cliffs of Dover when we arrive at 5:30 a.m. in the morning. And I'm like, oh, I'm too old for this. I'm too old for this rubbish. I just needed a nap. I needed my sleep. Anyway, you've got to go with it and you've got to have a bit of a laugh. Don't you really? I managed to get away from him for that moment, which was good, on the ferry. And I just put my, I found a spot and I just lay on a seat and I just put my clothes over my face, because all the bags were in the bus. I sort of put my bag with my passport under me and just decided I'd have a nap. I was like, who am I? I'm heading up to 60 and I'm doing this rubbish on my own like this. This is kind of crazy. But I did it. It was fun. Even though I wasn't 100% well. And I did it, you know, as gently as I could on myself. Anyway, we got there, we got the other end, and then he still kept talking to me and he kept following me. And I got, you know, we got off at, in the end, when we, when we got off at Dover, we got onto our bus. We got back onto our bus and went from Dover up to London, which was still a couple of hours drive. When we got to London, I was so tired. I just wanted that guy to leave me alone. And he kept talking to me, and I did things like trying to go to the toilet and hope he'd be gone. And in the end, I just had to say, "Oh, I'm going to catch a cab. I'll see you later." You know, I just couldn't get rid of him. Could not get rid of him. Ended up having to just, because I couldn't So I had, oh yeah, I think I might have said this story before. I've got lots of stories because this was a big trip where I did a lot of things. I got into London that early in the morning and I was due to stay at an Airbnb that evening, but always the same. If you arrive at that time in the morning and you're really tired, you still have to wait till they're open. You know, they've got to check people out and clean up. So I couldn't even go. I couldn't go there. So I ended up in a park, laying down with my head on my bag. I think I booked my suitcase in at the airport, at the train station. I put my suitcase into a locker so I didn't have to cart it round. Anyway, needless to say, by the time I arrived at that Airbnb, I was so tired. But it was a boat. I see, the thing is this is what you got to do. You've got to have the experience. You've just got to have an experience. I need that to dry before I shut that. Oh, I like this page. Dry. So I stayed on a barge anyway. Stayed on a barge. It was great fun. On a barge, on the Thames in near Kew Gardens. With, it turned out it was a lovely couple with a little child. And the guy, was from Queensland, from Australia, so that was funny. Didn't see him too much because he was working, but staying on a barge was pretty interesting actually. I really enjoyed it. It was great fun. The swaying of the boat and the sloshing as the people practicing their rowing went past. Just being on the water was amazing. Kind of whole new experience. It's great. I was there for about 3 days and nights. I'd have to, you know, I just relaxed and rested after that long class. It was pretty intense. And just took it easy. And I did things like went to the Royal Albert and Victoria Museum and stuff like that, which was lovely. That was great. Walked around the Kew Gardens, where I had a lovely little sleep under the tree when I collapsed because I'd been bitten by a bed bug. And I'm allergic to them. Who knows where that was from. But I know it's a bed bug because I know how I itch and I know how I feel. So I have to be careful with travelling and bed bugs. Can't do too many of the things that are a bit dangerous in terms of that. But anyway, I had a lovely sleep under the tree for a bit until I was good. I came good and then got on my way again. Just kept exploring the Kew Gardens. I didn't actually, oh no, because this is Paris. Okay, I was just going to say, oh my goodness, I should be doing one of these on Kew Gardens. But that's okay because I might make another one that matches this one, which is of the Kew Gardens part of it, because there was a lot there to see and very interesting, very enjoyable, beautiful gardens. And I fell. What did I put on this one? And then I went and stayed with my uncle and auntie for a while. I didn't stay, you know, he's sick. I didn't stay too long. Because I have said that story before, that they're so kind, and they'll make you breakfast, lunch and dinner, and that was in sort of, I think it's Severn, I think it's called. Where there's a beach anyway, and it's sort of 20 minutes or whatever from Bristol, which is where my cousin lives. I got to see my cousin, got to see his kids. I didn't see all of my second cousins, only 2 of them. Yeah, it's good. I was glad I saw my uncle. He's still with us, but he's in palliative care, so not long. Okay. I just want the word Paris. So it's nice to remember a trip when we're in a time where there's all the COVID and everything, and you know, you start to wonder if you'll ever travel again. When I was younger, I thought that was my lot, I'll never ever travel, but you know, as you get older and you work and you save up and stuff, you do end up having experiences. For anyone younger who's watching and wondering if they'll ever do certain things. I am so glad I did it. It took a lot for me to do it, being single and doing it on my own. It was scary, but I did it. Paris. Just use the same lace. Yeah, and then I came home. So that was that. That was 2 years ago. What, you know, when you look at like now and you look back, you sort of go, what didn't I like? I chose to go. How do we know? We may never know if we can travel again, you know? Like, it feels like that sometimes, doesn't it? I want to put a brad in, but I don't actually think it's going to, you know, when you try to cut it, it won't necessarily go through on the front. Nearly. Can always use your knife. It's the material part, doesn't always cut when you do this. Just give it a snip. Give the material a snip. funny thing. Didn't quite do what I wanted it to do there. It's on. Oh, chair. Squeaky chair. I'm going to just quickly sew them together because I don't, I think 3 bits of card might, or three bits of card might be too much for my sewing machine. This is what I mean. I'm going to have one massive clean up and really get organised. This one, that's better, thinner, I like it, this one. Alright, I am deciding that I would like to have 2, like that, and come back through same distance, this side, and try not to actually prick myself with the needle. Too late, I already did that, silly duffer. Left over right, right over left. See if I can get that tighter. That just did not do what I wanted it to do. There, pulled that tighter. Remember when you used to wrap up the presents at Christmas time and you always had to get someone else to kind of hold that little knot down? I don't know if you did that in your family. I did. Yeah. Okay, I need to decide whether I'm just putting one through here. Here's my a pokey thing, something to poke it through. Yeah, that'll do. Now, am I just tying that like this? I think I am. And then just wrapping it round, threads out the way. Tuck it in. There you go. Or could I go this way? I might go this way. So then it can be tucked in. Fiddly, stop being so fiddly. Okay, there we go. Done it. Alright. I think that was the biggest ramble on I've ever done on my YouTubes. Told the entire story of my trip to Paris and beyond even. And there you go, that's Paris, day 93. Hope you enjoyed my ramble. See you tomorrow. Bye.